Hello everyone, my name is SSDS and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to be going more in depth on Survival Hunter. I will be covering gear, pets, trinkets, stats, enchants, and answering various questions I asked in stream, for pretty much frequently asked questions, so let's just get right into it. I would like to start off by going over the stats and enchants you're going to want to use. So, as I said in my base Survival Hunter guide, the stats you want are haste and versatility, and then mastery is your third best stat, with crit being pretty much a dead stat in PvP and not the greatest. So, I get asked a lot of times, what are the percentages you want to hit? So, the true percentages I would want to hit is I would want to hit around 28 to 30% haste, um, either unenchanted or enchanted. Those are the echelons. Those are the tiers of haste I want to hit. So if I wasn't worrying about corruption, I would swap to this ring. I would swap to this weapon. I would swap to these pants. And I would swap to these gloves. And as you can see, I hit my 30.5% haste. At this point, um, I would be swapping to verse gems and enchants. Pretty much, you want to gem and enchant haste till you get to 28 to 30% haste, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. And once you actually hit those, I would start swapping to versatility enchants, because 19% is decently high, but it's definitely not as high as other people's versatility, the people who have the lucky verse corrupts. This also depends on your corruptions, because you could have the percent haste one, like this one increases all haste you gain from sources by 6%, or you could have 6% verse corruption, or 9%, 12%. So the way you're gemming and chanting will be different, but what I like to aim for, 20% haste to 30%, right around there. After that, it's not as needed. I feel like going verse is more useful in PvP to take the less damage, to just deal generally more damage. So, as you can see with my set, due to my corruptions and everything, my setup, I have to gem and enchant haste, and I only have 20.4 or 25.4. So I have to go full haste and everything, and I use quick nav. But if I was at that 28 to 30% haste without the enchants, I'd be versatile navigation, I'd be verse gems and verse enchants and everything. So 28 30% haste is nice middle ground. You can honestly go more if you want pure output, like just high uptime pure output. Just keep going haste the entire time. But I tend to go more verse once I start getting to higher levels of haste, because it's more damage reduction, and it's in PvP it's pretty much around the same damage, because you're not gonna have the perfect uptime you would in PvE. So versatility just makes you hit harder for when you're actually out there. So yeah, 20-30% haste, and then as much verse as you can. There's no real cap on versatility. The next thing I want to go over is I want to go over the trinkets I recommend having. So, here are the 5 trinkets I would recommend having in your bags at any time. I would recommend having a Corrupted Gladiator's Maldic, a Humming Black Dragon Scale. I would recommend having a Writhing Segment of Dressed a remote guidance device, and a Corrupted Gladiator's Insignia. And I'll go over each reason why I'd have every single one. So, I'm gonna go over the 2 famous trinkets that everyone talks about all the time. Gonna start off with Rising segment of Dressed. Just good trinket, good like 80k hit in arena. If you have like heroic ones, like 67k in arena. If you have mythic ones, 100, like 20k. It's pretty substantial, and it gets only better with versatility because the damage scales with versatility. Um, so that's a good trinket, just a good chunky burst. I wouldn't recommend using it into Death Knights, Unholy Death Knights, or um, Demolocks, because they have a lot of pets, and the damage does get split out between people. It's not 120k on everything. It splits the damage. So against this high amount of little mini pets, the worse this trinket gets, because the damage gets split. Um, and then we have the remote guidance device. Just does a nice, 80k physical hit, and then does an AoE fire damage, and the fire damage does not get split. It's 30k to everything it hits. The only issue with this is that it can hit various different things. It can get stuck on a wall. It can hit totems and crash early. It can hit other players and crash early. It can hit warlock gateways. It can hit a lot of things. So you would have to get used with the angling of remote guidance device. If you want to use it so it always comes to the back left of your screen, so it'll always come from this general direction. So you can take that account when you're aiming. Say I want to make it not hit this bouncer, I would go like this. If I want to hit like this target dummy instantly, just go like this, use it, and it'll instantly hit the target dummy, because it'll spawn on the target dummy. So the other trinkets are the Corrupted Gladiator's Maldeck. This trinket is very good into healers with healing over time effect or DPS that have high healing output, like Windwalkers with their reverse harm, Red Palace with their flash of light, Shadow Priests with their just baseline healing. You know, really like not absorb healing, but just kind of decent healing output. But it's mainly to counter things like Ursa Druids and Mistweavers to help just kill through the Renewing Mist, their statue, their rejuve with all their hots. So try to be able to push through that when you're bursting. Um, and the trinket I would use if I'm ever using Maldic is a Humming Black Dragon Scale. Very, very good pure damage trinket. Procs gives you about 400 haste from Heroica, and Mythic 1 gives you about 400 haste or so. The speed is nice for the movement speed, has a bunch of agility on it, but it has a ridiculously high uptime. It's about 50 to 60% uptime in any given arena game. So this trinket is very strong just because it's always going to be up. You're always going to be getting the benefit pretty much when you need it. So just very good. And the last trinket, which you can swap this out with other trinkets, but it's a Corrupted Gladiator's Insignia. If I didn't need any of the on-use trinkets like the Segment, the Bike, or the Maldic, I would use this, or I would use Electro Jar. If you have a high item one, I'd probably only use a 475 one. I kind of mess around with the 465. I think I would only use it if it was 470. 475. Another trinket that's good. If you have like a socket match, it's good. A high item medallion or plumage is good. And a high item dice could be good. But this is if you only want to do pure damage. So I pretty much only use that kind of trinket setup in twos, where I don't feel like I feel like more consistent damage is better than having the burst opportunities with Drestigeth and Bike. So I'm not gonna go. So in the matchups, I would use Drestigeth and Bike. I'd pretty much, like I said, Dressigeth into. I wouldn't use it into plate, and I wouldn't use it into high pet classes like Unholy Death Knight or Demo Lock. So, given matchups, I'd use it in. You would use it into RM Priest, it's good. RM Paladin, it's good. Emerald D, it's not really bad. Could be good into Windwalker DK. So, some of the DK matches you could use it in, because if you're going a target that's going to kite away from the DK pets, it's good. So, like Windwalker DK, the monk's going to be kiting, and they can solo dress at them. So that's good. Remote guidance device. I tend to try to not use remote guidance device as much as I can, unless I'm just going for pure one shots against Destrolux. Like I said, the trinket can spawn and just hit various things. It can be soaked by other people, so it tends to not be really good. I would also try to use this whenever you have a stun up on the target. I wouldn't ever just kind of free use this, because then it makes it easier to target stationary. It's easier to hit. Like I said, I use Maldic pretty much into Archers and Mistweaver Cleaves that have a lot of healing. Not even Cleaves, but just comps that have a lot of healing output that I need to burst through. And then if I'm using the Maldic, I use the Dragon Scale. If you ever just need damage output that isn't bursty, Dragon Scale is always going to be your nice go-to. Other than that, pretty much if you just don't want burst and you don't want Maldic, Insignia, a badge, high level plumage or medallion, dice, pretty much any of the kind of just proc trinkets that either proc stats or proc damage. That's decent. A Vita, I don't tend to like use Vita. The haste proc on it is too low, and I don't think it's worth just having an extra 240 haste. I think I'd rather just have main stat or have like a proc that consistently does something. Devoid Twisted Shard's not good. So yeah, those are pretty much all the trinkets I would use. And if yeah, dress to get non DKs or Demolux or any plates, so I wouldn't use it into like TSG or anything like that. Bike, pretty much if you're gonna use Dressigeth, I would use Bike as well for the most part. And also one more trinket I forgot to mention is the Battlemaster. Battlemaster are very good. I like to use Battlemaster into melee mage comps. So like Warrior Mage, Rogue Mage, like comps like that. Windwalker Mage, it's really good to just help you give survivability to live the sheep goes. So yeah, those are pretty much all the trinkets. And now I'm gonna go over corruptions. Corruptions are by far what I get asked the most about. So what are our best corruptions? So In my personal opinion, the number one corruption for Survival Hunter is the versatility corruption. Increases the amount of all versatility you gain from all sources by 9%, 6%, and 12%. By far the best corruption because it has offensive benefit, it has defensive benefit, it's just extremely good. Once you start getting to that 30-40% versatility, it just allows you to sit in and just keep doing damage. You don't have to run as much. So that's the absolute best. Our second best corruption is a Gushing Wound. As you can see in my PvP set, I'm using 3 Gushing Wounds. I've been very thankful to get them. Granted, they're not on the most well-standard pieces of gear, but I do have 3 of them at 475. You can see 2 of them have sockets, but I implemented the sockets myself. I did not get that lucky. They did not come with sockets. I socketed them myself. So Gushing Wind is our best overall damage one, and it's our second best corruption in my opinion. And our third best corruption is going to be haste percent corruption, which is right. I have one in my bag. Let me find it. I had one. Where did it go? I've lost it. There it is. Increases the amount of haste you gain from all sources by 6%. Here it is in the bag. I found it. It's really good because it gives you the pure damage, and if you have enough of these, you can just straight up enchant verse and stuff because you will already hit your base haste that you want to get, so then you can just start enchanting verse earlier. So yeah, those are your top 3 corruptions. I'm going to mention some corruptions that you could wear that aren't the best, but they're not bad. Grafting Tendril isn't a bad one. I would only use it as if you have multiple ranks or tier 3 one. So I wouldn't use it as tier 1 or tier 2 if I have other corruptions, but as like a tier 3 on this one, or if I have multiple tier 2s or multiple like 3 or 4 tier 1s, I would then use it. It's pretty good. You can randomly proc. It instantly does damage. That's the one thing that's nice about it. Is at worst, it's just a random 20k proc at rank 2 or rank 3. So you can just randomly proc a 20k hit, which isn't the best, but it's not the worst. You know, there's definitely worse options out there, so I would use, like, if you have, especially if it just gets better and better with ranks. So if that's all you have, Tendrils isn't bad. Another corruption that isn't the worst is actually Ineffable Truth. Your spells and abilities have a chance to show you Ineffable Truth, increasing your rate of your cooldown recovery by 30% at rank 1 for 10 seconds, or by 50% if you have the rank 2, which I think I have a rank 2 on this hunter. I do. I have it on my pants. It's I don't want to say it's sleeper OP. I don't think it's low-key OP. I think it's good. It is really RNG based when you get it. So I think the absolute best time you can get it is when you're in Tim's on cooldown. Because I've had games where I in Tim trap the first go, and then I trap in Tim the second go. Pretty much off cooldown. So it's very strong for just making your goes happen more quickly. I've had it to where I literally trapped off DR, like as soon as it came off DR, it came right back up. So it's good for that. Yeah, it's really RNG based though. Not the most insanely reliable corruption, but I mean, having at least one isn't awful. And I wouldn't stack it though. I would only wear 1 and 2. But if you have it, don't be ashamed. It's a pretty decent one to get. Other than that, there's no other real insane corruptions to really point out. I guess I can mention the versatility proc corruption. I have a tier 3 somewhere. Yeah, taking damage is a chance to give you 800 verse. This is also a really good one. I don't think it beats the top 3 though, but I mean, if you have a versatility percent on top of this just gets better. So it's definitely good if you have versatility percent corruptions, but again, I wouldn't wear it over haste percent, verse percent, or gushing. But I mean, you got nothing else. Don't be ashamed of it. I don't have it on a well-sat piece. Like I would not wear this crit haste piece because I lose about 100 versatility or so, and I don't even gain 100 haste in return. So it's just like I'm getting more worthless crit, and I'm losing verse, and I'm getting equal amount of haste. I mean, other than that, that's really all the corruptions. Racing Pulse isn't insane because it won't ever proc at the times you need it. Twilight Dev's honestly worthless. Stars isn't insane. I have a stars here. Yeah, I have a tier 3 stars. It's not the worst thing in the world. The one thing I will say about stars though is that it can randomly proc. So if you're fighting a Deathlock and it procs on the healer, it can help cover Imp Dispel, which is very nice. But not super. Again, it's not insane super. It's like very niche. I would wear like a tier 1 if I ever wanted to do something like that, but I wouldn't ever wear a gear set to play around that. I don't think it's necessarily worth just losing a corruption to just play around imp spell like that, because it's also very RNG based if you even get it. So yeah. So pretty much it's versatility percent corruptions, gushing wound, haste percent corruptions, and then the versatility proc. Those are your top four. Ineffable Truth is decent. Um, and grasping tendrils, the 10D procs are also decent. So those are pretty much your those are gonna be your top corruptions. That's so pretty much I went over all the stats and stuff you need to go over: corruptions, enchants, trinkets, when to use set trinkets. Only thing I'm gonna go over, because I get asked this a lot, so I'm gonna go over I'm gonna go more in depth about traits, because I'm now gonna enter the frequently asked question. So the trait setup I like to run is I like to run triple latent poison. I like to run the engineering trait relation normalization gizmo. I like to run a primeval, and I like to run a will of survival. So the traits I think are mandatory. Is a triple lane super mandatory. I don't think you can really play Survival Hunter without triple lane. And I think the next mandatory trait, if there were to be one, is will of survival. Um, will of survival is just really strong. The CD on your bombs is insane. When you look at damage breakdowns from arenas, bombs never appear to be really high. They never hit your top like 3 or 4 unless you're really cleaving them. But the main reason why they never show is that when you're wildfire inclusion, the your bomb's breaking from 2 different damage breakdowns to 6, because it does the initial bomb hit and then the dot hit of each one. So there's a shrapnel bomb dot, pheromone bomb dot, volatile bomb, and volatile bomb dot. But if we were to go like chakrams to print the week, I'll show you real quick. We'll just do a basic damage breakdown right here. So we'll just start doing it. We'll just start bombing off cooldown as well. It's gonna be a little more skewed just because Mongoose Bite is much stronger in PvE than it is in PvP. But Bomb is keeping up. Usually Bomb isn't that high compared to everything else. But you see Bomb, like bombs are, that was what, 3 bombs right there, and they just did 150k damage or so. Bombs are very strong. So getting the CDR in Bomb is very nice. Primeval is a good one. Having the extra 20 focus is nice. Other traits you can use, if you want Harder Darkness, I tend to not like Harder Darkness over like Primeval or Wilderness because of the nerf to them. So before it used to just actually be 85 stats in Arena, but now it's half, so now it's only 42 stats in Arena. So it's still decent. It's still pretty much a socket. So imagine if you triple socket or you quadruple socket every piece. It's still not awful. I may do some more testing with it. But I personally don't think it's good. So Azerite pieces I would look out for though. If you can get them, Carapace and the Zoth pieces are your absolute best. I would take the Heart of Darkness in this piece, just because, I mean, it doesn't matter which one you take it in, but I would take a Heart of Darkness if I had these 2 pieces, just because it's not worth having 2 Wilderness survivals. You only really need the one. And then I would use the Mott Shoulders. Actually, no, I wouldn't use them on shoulders. That is my bad. I would actually use the shoulders. Where are they? What dungeon are they from? I would use the Crash Guard Spalders. Gives you lane poison. Gives you a Dire Consequences, which Dire Consequences isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's not the best. But it gives you Nature Salve, which is the CDR on Exhilaration, and the increased heal on it, which is really nice. So with this set of gear, you would have a Duck and Cover and Nature Salve, which is really nice. Your best 2 defensive traits to have one of. If you wanted to go for pure defensive capabilities, I would go the Ilganoth chest and the Mott shoulders, just so you can get duck and cover. A duck and cover, you can get a nature salve, and you can get the engineering auto self cauterizer, which is very strong. And then you would also get your triple lane, you would get your primeval, and you would get your wilderness survival. So pretty much the basis thing is you want, in order, is you want 3 lanes, then you want a wilderness, then you want a primeval, and then like Hardened Darkness or the NG Helm or Dire Consequences. Venomous Fang isn't awful. The only reason why you would ever wear a Venomous Fang is for one specific piece, and it's to get this chest just so you can have a duck and cover. That'd be the only reason why you'd ever use a venomous fang. Another question I want to go over is essences. I get asked about my essences a lot. So it's changed from my guide. My guide, the essences I use in my guide are still decent. I don't think they're the best anymore, but you could still use them. It won't really won't affect them. Because the major essences you need are Breath of the Dying and Conflict, which I think I use both in my guide. But the major thing is I think in my guide I wasn't using memory. I think I was using Breath Miner. I was using Crucible Flame Miner. I just switched to Lucid. The versatility proc is pretty nice, a 450 versatility proc for 8 seconds, and just a nice little heal. It's pretty decent. And once you start getting the versatility corruptions, it only gets better because it procs the verse gets increased by the percent. So just overall, and in twos, I always play Breath of the Dying. Flame just doesn't hit hard enough. Like only the rank two, only two stack flame is ever comparable to a Breath of the Dying hit. So I tend to just like Breath of the Dying more in every situation. I'm trying to think if there's any more questions I can answer. I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions down in the comments, please let me know. I'll be glad to answer it. And if you always come to my stream, I'll always answer your questions. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. I'll see you guys later. Peace.